car ramblings. We're going to ramble today. I'm Mark Schettenhelm. You'll find me here as Motor City Car Culture. And in the blue, as always, Mike.
Mike Sadler, Speed and Shine. And, soon the weather's going to get warm enough. I won't have to wear a hoodie all the time in the garage, even though I have heat.
Yeah, I thought about going in the garage today, and it's like, it's still, I didn't even think it hit 50 yet. And it's
Mhm.
rainy, and like, not today, not today. Which really kind of leads into today's topic of
Mhm.
what is a good car area? What is a good car city, state, area? If you're into cars, what's a good place to be in? What are the aspects that make it a great place for cars? And what led us to this was I saw this thing from Speedway Motors, and you can just kind of Google it, and it's best states for car enthusiasts. And I found it really interesting. And
Mhm.
Mike, did I rant on it a little bit?
You did. You did. You really kind of rooted for the home team on this one.
Well, okay, we're in Michigan, and Michigan out of 50 states came in 49. And we respectfully disagree on that.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, we
um,
have the Motor City. We have the Woodward Dream Cruise,
the
which goes for
world's
18 miles.
largest car show.
Mhm.
Um, so
What's
we
their
think,
criteria? So, what did they use to pick this?
well, I have it here in front of me. So I'll just go through the categories quickly, and then we can kind of go through each one and what we think of them. So the first one
Sure.
is percent of roads in good condition. And I think that's a good criteria because if you have crappy roads, which we do, that
Well,
makes it hard.
our slogan is "Fix the damn roads." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then average snow days per year. So we'll talk about
Mm.
that. Average number of hail events.
Okay.
And
Oh, yeah. Okay.
if you have your car outside, or I mean, that's what sometimes you like store it, but in the summer you have your car. So anyway, we'll get to each one of these. Range of registration fees, duration of registration.
Mm.
Um, okay. Price per gallon of gasoline. Okay. Percent of drivers that are uninsured. Like, okay. I mean, yeah. Number of car shows in the state, which I
Mm.
think is a really good criteria. Their numbers here are weird. Number of auto racetracks located in the state.
Okay.
That's reasonable. So they took all those and added them all up somehow. And they came up with Florida as number one. Then
Mm.
let me just round out. Well, I'll start the top 10. Starting at number 10 is Kentucky, New Hampshire, Indiana, Arizona, Tennessee, West Virginia, North Carolina. Number three is Idaho. Number two is Alabama. Number one, Florida. And I'm
Mm.
like, Florida, I just don't think Florida has interesting roads, but they got year round weather. I would have thought California has a definite car culture. It would have been higher. Um,
Yeah.
Hawaii is number 40. Yeah. Colorado is number 50. Great roads,
So
but
wait,
California is
wait. Are
44.
you are you
Hmm?
telling me an island beat Michigan?
Yes. I mean, they have great views. I don't know about, well, they might have some interesting
Oh.
roads, but California has, well, there's a lot of traffic, true. But I mean, they have Pacific Coast Highway. There's these all these great roads. Gas prices are high in California. I'll give you that.
They certainly gotta have a long season. I mean, my buddy Tom is always sending me, videos and pictures from car shows and Cars and Coffee in the middle of winter, and it makes me very envious when there's a foot of snow on the ground here in Michigan.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. That was average snow days per year.
Mm.
Um, and we store our cars in the winter for the most part. Um,
Mhm.
Usually certainly by like Thanksgiving, but it might be Halloween is the time you store it. And then this is the time when you start bringing them out. Sometime in March, although I think we discussed in our last podcast of bringing it out, we have to look at the condition of the roads, which is another one. And there's still a lot of potholes out this time of year. So it's like you want to get it out, but there.
And you're
So,
waiting for, again, everybody waits for that big rain to wash the salt away, as they say, right?
right. And so our snow days per year is 73.1. So
Hmm,
that in Michigan, that puts us pretty far down this list where Florida is 0. Um, but I think we were just chatting before this, there's a kind of a flip side to it. And another factor they should consider. One is that when you have the snow days, this gives you time to work on your car in the winter.
yep,
It's we have the 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night, and that gets us rejuvenated and ready. And I think having the winter is that slumber hibernation period where you can go in and fix that thing that you have to order a part or something, you dig into it and you need something else, and you've got all the time in the world. Where if
right.
you need to get the car up, I got to show. And I've had that stress in the summer. It's like, oh, I want to use it this weekend. I need this part. I got to overnight it. And then after work, I have to go in and do it. And something that should be enjoyable becomes stressful.
Great point.
And
Yeah,
you're working on it. In the winter, it's like, I'm going to go work on the car for a little bit, as long as you have a heated garage. Um,
right.
but I'm going to work on it a little bit. No, all right, need this part. Okay. As long as it comes before the weekend, I'll be fine. So I think having that makes it easier for us. And also in the summer, we really appreciate the summer roads and driving.
We do. And everybody tries to pack everything they can, whether it's some kind of event, car show, or whatever. So there's always on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, multiple shows to go to. You kind of have to map it out to,
We
to,
do.
to hit the one you want.
I do. I just put them all on the calendar and I have to figure out, and I've done like 3 shows in a day.
Mhm.
It's hard. So we really compress it. We really celebrate it. And here in Michigan, start last year, if you have your antique car plates for anything 25 years or older, um, you can now drive them between Memorial Day and Labor Day, anything as a daily driver.
It's a
So
great thing. Yeah,
yeah. So that really, we really pack it in. Now, the other part of this is we were discussing like in Arizona in the summer. So they could say, well, I can drive you around. Well, okay. But in the
yeah.
summer, I've heard of people pretty much kind of store their cars or just don't use them as much because of the heat, or you have to use them in the morning.
Mhm.
It's just too hot, especially if you don't have
Yeah,
air conditioning.
I love Arizona. I've been there a couple times now, and I love the fact that there's more blue sky than Michigan, more sunny days. And I think if I could, I would live in Arizona, have a car out there for the winter, and then come back to Michigan so that I could really, get all those days in and
So you
enjoy a
would,
car life, right?
right. But I have heard of people, now Arizona's number 7 on the list,
Yeah. And
because they
and you
have
think that
2.8
it's
snow days.
is that because of the snow days and the hot days that they put them so far down? Because
See,
I would thought they'd be higher.
Arizona, yeah, it's 7. Well, the roads in good condition is only 52%. I don't
Hmm,
know where they get these numbers.
hmm.
Snow days was 2.8 because, you can. Hail events, 29. Registration. Uh, yeah, I don't know what really got. Yeah, only 2 car shows it says and 7 racetracks. So, um, but I would have put another column of when it's just too damn hot. And you just aren't driving because of it.
Yeah, especially at a car show. I've been at a number of them in Michigan when we got in 100 or around 100 degrees or 95 and high humidity, and you're out there on a parking lot, a black top parking lot with very little trees, it starts to become a miserable experience.
I've
You're like,
had
why am I here doing this?
I was up in Flint at one, and it was like 95 or so, and at least most of the cars were on grass, but it was so
Mhm.
hot. My phone, I had to stop doing video because it was putting up a message, it was too hot. So I had to take my phone,
Wow.
stop using it, walk it around, wave some air at it, cool it down so I could work. And that's like in Michigan. So
Yeah.
um, I think I would put another column when it's just too hot, and that would change like Florida. Come on. In the summer, it's so hot, so humid. It would be miserable at car show or like a car without air conditioning.
Sure, sure. And it's kind of hard for us because when we think about our car events, we think of St. Ignace, Woodward, uh, back to the bricks, all these great car events. We don't know other states. They may have far more and better ones because we just don't know. I mean, I've just now been able to travel and film at different ones and see different things. And there is a whole world of car culture out there. And just like Indiana, I, spent some time in Auburn because we had a seasonal camper at a campground down there. Got to know that car culture down there. And, it
Indiana,
seems like,
number eight.
yeah,
Number eight.
Indiana, in Auburn, what is the classic car capital of the world, they say.
Well, okay, let's go to a couple other things. So we've talked about where, oh, they also had the hail events, which I
Yeah,
wouldn't have thought of, but that's an interesting
it-
metric. But if we
it's a
go to like, they
great
don't
point.
have car museums on this list, which I think is really part of the car culture because the museums, like clubs, always go to museums. I volunteer at several museums, and we have car
Mhm.
clubs coming in all the time. And we have people drive to Detroit just for all the car shows. So they'll come for, like at the Greenfield Village, the Motor Muster in June,
Yeah.
and the Old Car Festival. People come from, well, all the country, all of the world, but especially through the Midwest, they'll drive up with their cars to show it there. And then while they're in town, they'll go so hit up like the Gilmore or the Fort
Mhm.
Piquette plant, now the new Pontiac Museum. So they'll go in and make a trip of all the museums.
Mhm.
So to me, one of the great factors is the car shows and car museums that really gives that culture because then like the Paquette this summer will be having cars and coffee.
Right.
So the museums have events or they have lecture things. The Packard Proving Grounds has a lecture series. The Pontiac Transportation Museum has the First Thursday lecture series. So
Mhm.
those are all, Gilmore has a great lecture series.
Well, and the Gilmore, we think in Michigan it's the best car museum in the world, and um, their Red Barn Spectacular is worth, people flying in for the
Yeah,
weekend for that. They travel. That is, it's just a great event because the grounds is completely packed with cars, and the museum is all open to you, and you can't see it all in a day. And but
right. And
having
that's a
been to the
great show that you can just bring your car.
Yeah, and then having been to the Peterson finally and
Hmm.
seeing that, you know, is Gilmore, Gilmore's special in a certain way, but
Wait, this is another
Peterson is like
podcast episode, Mike. Then I could talk about like the LeMay, but let's
yeah.
just save that. So car
Well, all
museums,
I could say, I'll say this: the Peterson is like the Hollywood version of the Gilmore, right? Does that make
yes,
sense? Yeah.
yeah. So okay, so part of the car culture we think are the museums. Now Indiana has Auburn, but they
Yep.
also have the Model T Museum.
Yep.
Um, and I visited that last summer, and that was really great. There's the early Ford V8 Museum, and we've been there, and we've had some
Mhm.
content on that.
They have
Um,
they have a couple auctions. They have the Worldwide Auctioneers auction, which we go to. It's a
mhm.
cool event. And then They even get Mecum in May.
Right.
And that's it. A lot of people don't think of an auction as a car show, but
It
gosh,
is.
it's a big car show, and you get to see from really expensive cars down to cheaper cars. And every time I go to an auction, I see something I would have never seen before if I didn't
Right.
go.
And we have an episode, if you look back, on car auctions.
Right.
So I recommend you go look at that. So it's right. So it's whether you have car auctions nearby. Now we're fortunate that well, for me, you're closer to Auburn. Um, for me, it's almost 3 hours away, but still doable.
It's a
You
trek.
can do it because we like to drive. Um, so we have that in the Detroit area. I think it's like a dozen car museums. I'd have to tick them off
Hmm.
that are open, and you can. Actually, today it's the first Saturday, so I should be over at Stalls. Um, so
You got
it's
the
really,
M1. It's
yeah,
not really a museum, but it's a car, and we should be there today
we
because it's
should
the
be
first
there
cars
today.
and coffee.
Yes.
But it's raining, and I'll be honest, I don't like standing around in the rain that much filming.
The Germans would say you're not made of sugar, but yeah. So,
I get it, but it's
okay.
rough on the
So,
equipment.
yeah, well, yeah, rain, that's another part of it. And California, we think of it not getting too much rain, depends on, it's a big state where you are. Um, but that's a factor. The the other thing, okay, car racetracks.
Mm,
Um,
interesting. So
we have
we have several dragways. We got MIS.
and we have
Yeah.
Waterford,
Yeah.
Grattan. So we have
M1.
several tracks around.
Yeah.
Um, there's Mid Ohio, there's so that's a good factor, is having the racetracks. Um, to
Of
me,
course, it's
car
hard to
shows
again, it's
is
hard to beat Indianapolis, Laguna Seca, California. I mean, there are more prestigious tracks
yes.
in the country. Yeah.
Yeah. So the car track, I think that's a good criteria, is how close you are, at least to make it possible to do it on a weekend, if not drive there and back. Um, I think that's a good criteria.
Yep.
Um, the other thing is, well, the car shows, which,
Hmm.
like you said, I mean, it gets difficult in the summer because there's so many and you have to pick and choose when to go. And I think it's also casual events like Cars and Coffee.
Hmm.
Some places here, like on any Saturday morning, I could go to multiple places for Cars and Coffee, and I try to get to them. Um, and then sometimes there's like Thursday night cruise nights.
Hmm.
Throughout the week, I know in the Detroit area, in the summer, you could do a car event every single day.
Yeah. I bet.
Um, so I think, probably more important than all these other things is your local car culture, whether you do have the Cars and Coffee, whether you do have the cruise nights, whether you have active clubs in the area. A lot of
Yeah.
times people buy a car and then people say, join the club, which I totally, I get that. You really want to be in the club. But then they're like, well, I'm in the middle of Wyoming. Is there a club?
Right.
And,
Right.
a chapter, because you can be part of the club, you get the magazine, that's great. But you want someone who can loan you a tool.
True. And maybe fill in some knowledge that you're missing.
Right.
And
Or come
now
over. Yeah.
I'm still stuck on the Idaho. You said Idaho was where? What on the list?
Number three.
I wish we had somebody here, in the chat or something from Idaho who can. I, it, it,
Idaho was 61% of the roads are in good condition, which is pretty high.
okay.
50 snow days per year, 18 hail events, so that's pretty low on this
Yeah.
list. The registration fees were in the range. Gasoline was reasonable. A low amount of uninsured drivers. Car shows in the state was zero. And auto tracks, 4 racetracks. So I don't know
What
how
do you
it
mean?
got so high with,
What do you mean car shows were 0?
yeah, which the car show count is nuts. Like for Michigan, they said 6. And I'm like, we have 6 a weekend easily.
Well, they must be just maybe they're looking at
High
ones that are
profile.
yeah, what their criteria is, and do they list the weight, what they're using for weight? Like, is the weather a higher weight than car show car shows or roads, or do they even get into that?
Um,
I didn't think we would become a data, a data podcast, but now we're,
we're branch
in
up.
my
That's in
job,
our new podcast. We're data
that's all I talk
scientists.
about at work is a lot of data,
Um,
right? How did they get this data?
oh, like okay, car shows in the state out of the top 100. So they took the top 100 list somewhere. They didn't, and then
Okay,
1 point for each of that, a lower percentage of uninsured. So some of them they explain how they did it, and other ones they
so
didn't.
So let me ask you, who
Oh, here's
had
the
the highest,
sources.
who had the
Mhm.
most car shows in the top 100?
Um, California, 11,
That's interesting. And we were at 6, you said?
6, which pretty good. 7, Texas had 7. Yeah, and they do have they got some of these things from Wikipedia, these lists. So
Sure, sure.
New York had 8, Pennsylvania had 7, because they have Hershey. Um, Nevada 4,
Mhm.
um, and then Florida had 8. So I think that really helped push Florida up.
Well, one of my dreams has always been to film a big car show in all 50 states in 1 year. I would and put that together as, like almost like a documentary because
So is that your retirement plan?
I would love it. I would love
All
it.
right, we'll load up
I'm
the
gonna have to
Maverick.
I'm gonna have to sell a lot of detail products to be able to pay for something like that. But
Yeah. Well,
I
I'll
find
be
it
with you. I don't know about all 50, but
I find it interesting. They're really just from a few states away and going to Arizona. There's a little difference in the car culture, the enthusiasts, the cars, how they do them, the different changes they make, the different modifications, and for the longest time, California used to set they did the little trucks, and then that spread out, the compact trucks, and they
yeah.
did Volkswagens, and it spread across the country. So I think California still is in that, setting the what's new, right?
Yeah, I did, well, some, like, at one time in LA there was a race and saw that, but car shows I've done the Indiana ones, um no, the Michigan. I've been over to Ontario, because there's one there that's really good. They do it twice a year at the Canadian Transportation Museum, but which that's a really great show, but that's another podcast. Um, another thing I want to make sure we talked about here was the ability to work on your car. We talked about working in the winter and
Yeah,
having that available, but the parts, now parts, it used to be you had to go get them, but now you can go and have them overnighted and all that. But it's still not the same as there's a place I can go. If there's a certain, like in Detroit, we have some restoration parts, they have them here.
right, right.
And that makes it a lot easier to just go there and get it. So if one of the suppliers of your parts is close by, the ability to go there and get them, parts availability, um, having
Yeah,
those parts warehouses.
as a former parts guy, um, finding parts for people restoring cars, like my friend Bob, who does the Mopars. That's how we became friends. He was restoring cars and came to me, and I had to find the parts. It was before the World Wide Web really took off and everything, and you had to match wheel cylinders and get different hoses with different lines. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could do. The internet has made it so easy if you're looking for a part to go out there and find it. I it's become easier, I think, to restore a car with the internet and the
Oh,
tools available today
yeah.
than
Oh,
80s
yeah.
or 90s
Well,
and
it used to be if you were somewhere and you didn't have that, you didn't have a club maybe nearby, you were on your own. And that made it hard. So I think a lot of people have joined the hobby because even if you're in an area that doesn't have parts available and all that, you can get them. You can go out to internet chat rooms and get a variety of opinions. Please don't ask what kind of oil to use. And you, and you have that community wherever you are. And I think that's made a huge, huge difference. So I think it used to be where you were located
Mhm,
mattered more for
mhm.
parts availability. Now, if you can't wrench it yourself and you need someone to work on it, that could be part of the factor. Is there a place where you could go and get restoration help?
Sure, sure. And I will say this, I am struggling to find, even though I'm using the internet, Facebook Marketplace, um, the Maverick has a terrible bench seat, and I am looking for 1976 through 80 Ford Granada, the split bucket seat. It's like a bench seat, but it's like split buckets, and it has the armrest that folds down. So if anybody out there knows what one of those is, I am really trying to find. I found something very close just this week. It's in Connecticut. It's a long drive there and back for a seat, and shipping it probably is out of the
Mm,
question. But I may have to take a couple days and drive to Connecticut to get a seat for the Maverick.
yeah. Well, I mean, again, that's part of where you're located is being
Yep.
close to go in and also like I mentioned, a lot of people come to Detroit and do a pilgrimage and hit up all the museums. um
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, we see them at the museums every day. There's people doing these road trips and I like looking at the parking lot to see what people drove there in. um so
Yeah,
it's
if you're a retired car enthusiast and you haven't been to Michigan, the month of August
mhm.
it would be to take the pilgrimage here. You take in Woodward Dream Cruise, you take in the Paquette, you take in the Roush, you take in all every day you could go and check something out. Gilmore,
Dolls on
all
Tuesday,
go,
Gilmore,
yes.
um, and then the Henry Ford Museum. Um, yeah, anytime August, but especially be timing with the Dream Cruise,
Mhm.
it it really. I mean, you'll have trouble deciding on every day. The Ypsilanti, I mean, just Pontiac, so many museums. Well, in the chat, you can ask us our opinions, and that's maybe a topic for another podcast. Is planning your Detroit road trip and
Yeah,
what our
and
recommendations are.
and people can go to either of our channels and our content and see a lot of museum stuff. I've done, the Gilmore in different museums as well. I have a whole special. The Paquette is our
Yes.
I feel it's the best work we've ever done.
Yeah.
My team when we were on
The
TV.
great
Those
videos.
those two episodes, there's so much history and he did such a great job, and I just forgot his name.
Oh, Steve,
Um,
was
that
it? Or yeah,
Steve, Steve
Steve
Shotwell,
Shotwell.
Steve Shotwell. His knowledge and how he told the story, and we learned so much. People who do watch it always tell me, "I didn't know that. Why is it just on Discovery or something so somebody could see that?" I would love that. And I'm still embarrassed because it hasn't gotten the views it deserves. The Piquette is a really special place.
It really is, and that's just one of the museums. Actually, I'm gonna probably go there this afternoon. So I'm gonna do probably a live, so look for that.
Mm.
A quick live and film a couple cars and get some content for the week. Um,
So really, we're just I I think Michigan, I'm not upset that we're not in the top 10, although I
I
feel we
am.
should. But I don't think the place that we have, we deserve.
Yes. And maybe that gets to how do you measure that car culture? How do you, and maybe, trying to put numbers to it, okay, nice attempt, but how do you, maybe the best place is your own garage.
Oh,
Maybe the best place to be is where you are, your friends are, and people who, when you're stuck on something, you can call a friend and they can come over and shine the light somewhere, give you a help or loan you a tool, and maybe getting some friends together and going for a ride.
right.
It's really wherever you are and your car is and you know your roads, maybe the best place is where you are.
It's true. Hey, we have 4 people, right now. Hey, put in the comments what state you're in, and we'll talk about, Mark will give you what your score is, in case you don't know. Let's see if we can get some people to comment what state they're in. Watch them all be in Michigan, so oh, instead they left. They just left, so they didn't wanna comment. That's too bad,
Ah,
but you're absolutely right. Where you are is always the best, and the people around you, and the community that I have here in Jackson, the Hot Rod Elves, they support my endeavors wholeheartedly, and we do so much. Don Marshall from Marshall Motors, if you should check his website out. He sells cars all over the world, and we raise money for Toys for Tots and cancer. Our Father's Day weekend car show that they have, I'm part of it. Um, an enormous amount of money is raised, and they do so much for the community. It's great to be part of it. It's more than just the cars. You create a little bit of a family. And Thursday night we just had a dinner, and we were and that's our last one through the winter, so we could still get to see each other. And that's hopefully you have that in your area.
right. And it's also seeking it out.
Yes.
It's finding it because I'm out there all the time looking at, I put on my calendar all the different car shows and I run across them and I keep searching and looking for like Detroit car shows and I find all these little cruise nights at the A&W and all that. It's out there. There
Mhm,
there are people that you can talk to about your car addiction.
mhm.
They're out there and you have to seek them and you have to make wherever you are a great place to be with your car.
Yeah. It's like a big support group for us to have a problem.
Yeah. So, yeah, this was an interesting survey. So it's at www.speedwaymotors.com. You can find it there and you can debate it yourself. I applaud their efforts to try to quantify something that is unquantifiable.
Yeah. I mean, they could have done where you go and you vote. And of course,
Yeah.
car groups and states would have said, "Hey, we want to be number one," and those aren't always right.
No.
I understand what they tried to do here, and it's a good start, and everybody's probably going to be sad that they're not in the top 10.
Yeah.
Michigan should be up there farther. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. So, all right. So maybe we can end it with it's really wherever you are, make where you are a great place to be with the car. And maybe if you don't have a cruise or cars and coffee, go in and talk to some place and see if you can talk them into hosting it, or just show up with your car and get your friends and make it cars and coffee.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
it's really up to you. You can go in and start doing making these events because a lot of them, the Woodward Cruise was just very informal at the start. It was,
Yeah,
we ought to get together and cruise Woodward. Okay. And it grew. Um, you could make your own events and just show up and say, hey, we're going to be at the park on Saturday, bring your car and start doing it. So it really is about maybe getting out of your garage, meeting up with people with
mhm,
different kinds of cars, and learning about them.
right.
So
And
make
and
it
and
make
don't
where you are.
and don't forget to include those younger people who, they may have cars that you don't agree with, and, they may have, I guess, tuners or whatever the car.
They're
You
still
gotta
pretty
embrace
cool.
them, and you
Yeah.
gotta check out what they're doing because they're doing some amazing things to these cars,
And
and
if you really want to them to learn about your car, you have to learn about their car. And then
exactly.
you share it and they see what's
Yeah,
cool about yours. And then, they might say, well, we're doing our tuning this way. And I'm like, well, here's how I'm doing my tuning. Here's how you
right.
adjust a carburetor. And they might be very interested in that too. And maybe they pick up some tips. It's all about sharing. So get out
Yeah,
there, meet other people, go to other shows. If there isn't a show, make a show. Um,
exactly.
be have your car in the 4th of July parade.
Mhm.
Um, get out there and share it. So I
Yep.
don't know. We could keep rambling. That's what we do, but I think that's about it for
Mhm.
today.
Yeah,
So
great
thanks for joining.
conversation. Yeah,
And yeah, let us know. Give us some comments. We'll be out there getting some more stuff. Like I said, I'm going to try to get out to Paquette today and I'll get some content and I'll be posting through the week.
and get those cars clean. See
That's
ya.
right. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.